G'day, Julio here from Have a Go Spaghettio, Success Helper Approach to Social and Emotional Learning. Today we're going to look at how we might use a popular story children like called Arthur. Arthur's a brown, everyday, ordinary dog in a pet shop. No one seems to want to choose him. So we're going to look at that in terms of the ABC theory of emotional disturbance paradigm. So what's emotional literacy? Because when we talk about applying the ABC theory of emotional disturbance in teaching practice, we want to help children develop emotional literacy, the ability to be able to manage their feelings or learn how to manage their feelings, recognize emotions in others, and understand that sometimes, often is the case, that we make ourselves more upset than we need to be. Emotional literacy is the ability to recognize, understand, express, and manage one's own emotions as well as the emotions of others. It involves developing empathy and building healthy relationships by being able to express feelings and address them constructively. So I got that off the internet. So emotional literacy is the ability to manage our emotions, to acknowledge and recognize how other people are feeling, and to moderate or regulate how we feel, especially in difficult situations. And Rational Emotive Behaviour Therapy suggests or tells us that the ability to manage our emotions depends on whether or not we've constructed success helper, rational ways of thinking, or success stopper, irrational ways of thinking. What are the key aspects of emotional literacy? What do they include, and what is it that we want to teach our children? We want to teach them self-awareness, understanding and recognizing their own emotions, self-regulation, internal locus of control, high frustration tolerance, managing and controlling emotions and impulses, motivation, using emotions to drive and achieve goals, empathy, understanding and sharing the feelings of others, social skills, positively managing relationships and communicating effectively. All these capabilities or insights are represented by the 6 success helper Have a Go Spaghettio color-coded chart capabilities that we'll look at again soon. So emotional literacy is about helping kids understand what it is that motivates them and what it is that causes them to feel as they feel, and that when things happen, it's not just what's happening to them that's making them feel and act as they do. It's also how they respond to it. So what is that? What are their perceptions and understandings of what's happening around them? Just to remind ourselves about the ABC theory of emotional disturbance, the Ellis created counselling paradigm. It represents what happens in A, or activating event. So this can be anything in an everyday situation that we are called on to deal with. B1 is what I think about what happened. Now, assuming that my first interpretation of what happens is an irrational one, we call that B1. That's what I thought about, or that's what I've been thinking about, or that is what I believe that's driving my emotions. B2 is a different way of looking at things when the evidence is presented to us. Now, when we present evidence to children that how they feel and behave is connected to success stopper, perhaps, or irrational thinking, we call that the D part of the ABC theory. Now, D represents disputation of irrational beliefs. And that's where a counsellor would, in a counselling context, would challenge the belief that, e.g., I can be dumb, or the child can be dumb. So we challenge that. We present them with evidence. And by challenging that, disputing that B1 belief, in time, we want them to deconstruct that B1 belief and reconstruct a better way of seeing things, which would become a B2 way of thinking. Now, C1 is how I felt and behaved. So in the first instance, so when something happened, I behaved and I felt in a certain way. I interpreted it in a certain way. And C2 is how I feel now, or how I will feel in the future, because I've changed my perception or interpretation, my habits of thinking about things when they happen. So C2 is how I feel now. C1 is how I felt and acted before. B1 is how I used to think. B2 is how I think now. And E is a new emotional response to similar events. So we want children, to move on from where they may be at in years 5, 6, and 7, 7-year-olds, and to where they can metacognitize, is there such a word, or think about their thinking. So in the fullness of time, when things don't go well, they can monitor how they feel and how they behave, and challenge the thinking that might be driving excessive emotions and inappropriate behaviours, perhaps, in some situations. So in early childhood, we're presenting the skills and the ideas, the strategies that they will learn how to use in practice. So by the time they get to 12, 13, 14, 15 years of age, they'll have the competencies, the skills and strategies to think about their thinking and to moderate, self-regulate. That's the whole idea behind Have a Go Spaghettio, Success Helper Approach to Social, Emotional, Behavioural Learning. So, who's Arthur? Well, Arthur is this brown dog, and where is he? Well, he's in a pet shop. The book Arthur tells the story of a brown dog in a pet shop who is overlooked by potential buyers. He tries to become more appealing by pretending to be other pets, eventually realizing that being himself is what truly matters. The book emphasizes the importance of self-acceptance and being authentic. Now, self-acceptance and understanding or developing a comfort within your own skin is called what Ellis called unconditional self-acceptance. And in terms of the Have a Go Spaghettio framework, that is represented by the red success helper, which is I'm worthwhile crocodile. So Arthur gets to the point eventually to thinking that I'm okay the way I am. What's the point of me trying to be something that I'm not? And that's what unconditional self-acceptance is all about. So when you are reading these books to children, you can use the ABC theory of emotional disturbance paradigm as a critical literacy tool. And by doing so, you're promoting emotional literacy, emotional intelligence. So you're applying in practice a way of therapy, which is Rational Emotive Behaviour Therapy or Cognitive Behaviour Therapy. We're taking those principles, we're applying them in practice, and we're using them to analyse a popular child story, Arthur. So who wants Arthur? Well, I refer back again to the chart. I've already said that we are looking at the red success helper here, I'm worthwhile crocodile, because at the beginning of the story, Arthur's presenting with a success stopper for I'm worthwhile crocodile. Instead of thinking I'm okay just the way I am, he's thinking, oh, I'm not okay the way I am. I should be different, because if I'm different, then I'll be more likable and people will choose me. So in terms of the activating event, the A part of the ABC theory of emotional disturbance for Arthur, it is he's in a pet shop and all the other animals are chosen ahead of himself. So he tries to be a goldfish, he tries to be a rabbit and eats lots of carrots to try and turn himself into a rabbit. He tries to be a snake, he tries to be lots of things, but he realizes in the end he can't. He is Arthur. So he learns to be self-accepting. Now we have the emotional thermometer there, because if we were talking to Arthur, we would say, Arthur, how'd you feeling? So I'm very sad. No one's choosing me. No one likes me. He could be really, really sad. And in terms of the emotional thermometer, what might he be thinking? Well, he might be thinking that, not being chosen is the worst thing that could ever happen to a brown dog or anyone in that particular. And I can't be happy unless someone chooses me. But sometimes you don't get what you want, and sometimes things aren't as bad as you believe they are to be. So, Arthur the dog. Who wants Arthur? Well, it seems nobody. But in the end, of course, he gets chosen. But before he's chosen, he appreciates that he's okay the way he is, and that even if he was left in the pet shop for a long time, he is still an okay dog. So this is the cover of Who Wants Arthur. And in terms of the ABC theory, something happened, no one chose him. How's he feeling? Pretty sad, very upset, unwanted. What does he do? He tries all of these convoluted ways to be something that he's not. So, you could look at this in terms of the blue success helper, being a very persistent and a problem solver, trying to work out ways in which he can help himself feel better. But essentially, Arthur is suffering from, I don't accept myself. There are conditions on my worth. Because I'm a dog, I'm not likable. I need to be someone else so that other people will choose me. And of course, this could be related to the children you're teaching. Sometimes they might think that they're not good enough, they're not worthy of other people's friendship because there's something wrong with them. So this is one step removed from the child's own experience, but at the same time, it's talking to the child directly. And that QR code there will take you to the video of Arthur, Who Wants Arthur? And of course the book is, you might find it in your library, and if not, I suggest you buy it because it's a really good teaching tool. So we might, as a class, decide that, well, let's brainstorm some things that might be concerns for Arthur and put them into some kind of perspective. So let's say no one chooses me. Okay, we've established that no one chooses him. What if he has an itchy tail? What if his friend in the pet shop doesn't want to play with him? What if he's put his bone somewhere and he doesn't know where it is? He's buried it, maybe in the garden, doesn't know where it is. What about if his mum got a bad distemper, as in the disease, and may have to go to hospital? What about if he gets a really sore throat and has to go to the vet, and he's sick for a long, long time? We can discuss these things and decide where no one chooses me fits. Whereas in the first instance, according to B1, his initial way of interpreting what's happening, no one chooses me is right at the top. It's the worst thing that could ever happen. So that's the idea of the catastrophe scale. And if you're reading any particular story in your schedule of learning, you can use these tools to reinforce the idea that thinking, feeling, and behaving are all interconnected. That's Arthur's catastrophe scale. Each child will have their own catastrophe scale, as I do. But one step removed again, we're talking about Arthur and his problems. Now, some ideas on the back of that might be, one thing I used to do quite often was I'd role play. We'd have a child children working in pairs. One would be Arthur, and another one would be a different animal, like Ronnie the rat in this instance here. One child is Arthur, another child is Ronnie the rat, and Arthur says, Ronnie, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. No one's chosen me, and no one likes me. I'm unlikable. And Ronnie the rat will say, well, hang on. Remember we made that catastrophe scale? Remember it? If you were really, really sick and had to go to hospital, that would be worse. And what if you broke your leg? And what about if your mum got very, very sick and you were really, really really worried about it? Would that be worse than not being chosen? So we use role play to put into the perspective how bad situations might be. Kids like that. So in time, you can construct a catastrophe scale for someone in school who you saw at recess. For instance, you can say to the children, well, at recess I saw someone who was really upset, and they were very, very upset and crying, and you thought, well, something bad's really happened, and you asked them what was happening. And the A part of the ABC theory, what happened? I lost my hat, or I didn't bring my hat today, and I can't play in the sunshine. And that person thought, well, my goodness, that's the worst thing that can ever happen. So how would we construct a catastrophe scale to put losing your hat or not remembering your hat into some kind of perspective? Another thing I do with children is to make two stick puppets, one with a sad face, one with a happy face, or one stick puppet with a happy face on one side and then a happy face on the other. The happy face represents success helper thinking, rational thinking, brain friend thinking. The sad face represents irrational thinking, success stopper thinking, or brain bully thinking. Brain bully makes brain bully feelings and behaviors. Brain friend makes brain friend feelings and behaviors. And what I would do is I would articulate my thoughts and ask them to show what I'm thinking. Am I thinking success helper, brain friend, or success stopper, brain bully? So I would say to myself, I would tell the children what I'm thinking inside my head. I'm dumb. And they would hold up, hopefully, the brain bully representation of that, the sad face. You would say, oh, this is hard, but I'm going to keep trying. And if I don't get it today, I might work it out tomorrow. It's not the end of the world. And the children hopefully will hold up their brain friend representation, success helper, rational way of looking at things. I'll sing the song, the Have a Go Spaghettio song. Kids love that, and we just dance that and sing it and dance around the classroom with, very energetically. And we talk about it being a new day, new opportunities. There's going to be some disappointments, but how disappointed we feel really depends on how we think about how things are unfolding. And I put etc. there because teachers, in my experience, classroom teachers, are fantastic at developing strategies and ideas to support children's learning. So you can add to this. So there we go, a few ideas. That's the Have a Go Spaghettio song. And again, this is all about giving it a go, trying hard, not being too hard on yourself when you don't get what you think you could get, setting yourself goals, celebrating your achievements, and understanding that mistakes are just stepping stones to success. Do your best, hairy chest. That's one thing. One child said, "I'll do your best, hairy chest." Give it a try, banana pie. All these kind of things. But the Have a Go Spaghettio song is something that I start every day with my young learners, and we just start the day off that way. Another strategy that could go on the ideas slide that we just showed you would be to look at the 6 success helpers and decide on which one of those is going to be our goal for the day. I would set my own goal, and I would say, well, I'm going to have a purple success helper goal today, which is I'm going to really work hard at managing my feelings, because I know that when my feelings are not feeling okay, when I'm not feeling okay, I'm thinking something is worse than it actually is. So I'm going to use my catastrophe scale inside my head. And children will work out what it is they want to work at. A lot of the times children will say, I'm going to focus on my I'm worthwhile crocodile, the red success helper. I'm going to try a new thing today to see how I go, something that I've been a bit scared about. And so you can encourage them. And at the end of the day, you can debrief and ask the children, what is it that you wanted to achieve today? What were you focusing on today? And how did you go? You would debrief, but you would be using the language of the success helper, Have a Go Spaghettio ideas. And bear in mind, when we're doing that, we are really talking about rational emotive behaviour therapy, cognitive behaviour therapy principles, and applying them to ourselves. And that's the whole aim of rational emotive behaviour education. And lastly, again, a quote by Ellis: "The attitude of unconditional self-acceptance is probably the most important variable in their long-term recovery." And here, Ellis is talking about people who come for support to the rational emotive behaviour therapist or the cognitive behaviour therapist. And the goal is to help them to develop unconditional self-acceptance, which is read, I'm worthwhile crocodile thinking. The idea that what you think about me is not me. Your opinion of me is not me. My opinion of me is that I'm okay, even if you don't think so. And that's a Have a Go Spaghettio success helper, I'm worthwhile crocodile belief. And I'll leave you to think about that. All the best. Until next time, Have a Go Spaghettio. Give it a try, banana pie.